Hey everyone, with a new version of Adobe Captivate supposedly just around the corner, and we are in November 2021, a video was released not that long ago with a bit of a sneak peek of the upcoming version of Adobe Captivate. The announcement is under Project Charm, whatever that means, not sure. And we'll go through this video. It's a 10-minute video, and we'll just watch this on YouTube. And it is it's about a 10-minute video, and we're going to break it down to see, first of all, what is really new about Captivate, or what is being presented as being new. What's a little bit of an overhaul to existing features. And the first thing we'll also notice is that it looks like a completely new interface, something very similar to Adobe XD, if you are familiar with Adobe XD. So the first few minutes is Dr. Pooja just having a bit of a chat. I'm going to fast forward to 1 minute 50 in the video. Here is the welcome screen of the new updated Adobe Captivate, which will be coming out soon. Now, a couple of things that we wanted to break down. As I said, we want to find out what is completely new to Captivate, what is a bit of an overhaul, and what is a bit of a refresh. So I've actually got the current Captivate open as well, so I'm going to flick between that. So the current Captivate version, we can of course create responsive projects, virtual reality, blank, software simulation, video demo, and from PowerPoint. Let's go back to the video, and we'll see here that we can create a default project, responsive project, virtual reality, software simulation, and video demo. We don't see anything there about PowerPoint, so it'll be interesting to see how that is being incorporated. Of course, we do know we can include or import PowerPoint into existing projects, so that might be something that is kept or maintained within an actual project once the project is created. A couple of other things here around project templates. Once again, if we go back to the current version of Captivate, we can select resources, and there are a number of templates here that we can access. So really what we're looking at here is nothing new per se, just really a little bit of an update to existing functionality. Okay, so where do we go to from here? I think what happens is...
To explore Project Charm further, let's create a course on leading virtual meetings using the default project option. With this, you will see a clear...
Okay, so we've created a new project using the default option, so that's what's been incorporated here. You can see straight away a very different interface, lighter, more in line with the Adobe products. This was very, very, very long overdue. There's been a lot of commentary over the years about Adobe Captivate aligning with the other Adobe products. This is obviously a step in that direction, so it will hopefully minimize or reduce the number of comments that are coming out around that. So what we're going to do once again is we're going to go back to the current version of Captivate. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go into new blank project, which is probably the closest to default. So we'll open that up. Now, a couple of things that are mentioned in this video, and of course you can grab this video or you can have a look at this video by going into the Adobe elearning.adobe.com website. Just do a search for Project Charm and you will be able to access this video. Okay, so a couple of things that Dr. Pooja mentions is there's a flow now from left to right. So let's just have a quick listen to see what she says.
Clean and modern authoring interface. We have followed a simple yet powerful left to right workflow philosophy here. You can start with the toolbar on the left, compose things in the middle on the canvas, and finish it on the right in the properties panel, which presents you the most contextual presets and options.
Okay, so let's break this down. in actual fact, what she's saying is not really new. Okay, so this is something that is done in the current version of Captivate. So let's have a look and see what she's talking about. So in the current version of Captivate, we have a toolbar along the top. So there's various things that we can do along the top. We can then sort of move down onto the canvas, which is what she was talking about there, and then across to the right to the properties panel. And she mentioned something about contextual properties, which is currently what happens as well. If we do go into the properties panel in the current version of Captivate, you'll see that the properties panel does reflect whatever it is you've got selected on the screen, or what you don't have selected on the screen. So currently we don't have anything selected on the screen. So the properties panel reflects the properties for the slide in general. Okay, so if we were to select something on the screen, say for example this title placeholder, you'll notice that the properties panel will update. So in actual fact, the properties panel is already contextual. A couple of differences you'll notice here. We've currently got the toolbar appearing along the top here, but in this new version that's being presented, there is a more streamlined, condensed, simplified, succinct, however you want to describe it, toolbar over on the left hand side. And we'll be having a look at what some of these buttons do throughout the rest of this little review. Okay, let's see what comes up next.
We will start with creating a course splash screen. For that, let's add a title slide.
Okay, I'm just going to go back a little bit there because she clicks on the plus sign.
We will start with creating a course splash screen. For that, let's add.
Okay, so click on the plus sign up in the top left-hand corner. We've got these different options that are available as far as the different types of slides that we can include. Now, there's a couple in there that will be interesting to find out a little bit more about. But let's have a look and see what happens inside of the current version of Captivate. So if we go back to Captivate, and then if we click on the plus side, or the plus button, which will give us these slides, you'll see that we do have a number of different types of slides that we can incorporate. And in actual fact, where we can break down these other types of content slides is actually on the right hand side, which is what we do currently. So if we wanted to get a slide that had a title and body, or if you wanted to get a slide which had objectives or essentially placeholders which allow us to swap out assets, then essentially what we can do here is we can insert a plus, say, content slide here. And then to bring up those other options, if we click on the properties panel over on the right hand side, and those layouts are currently controlled by the master slide. And if we click on this drop down arrow, you'll see now there are a number of different options. For example, there's objective slide. There's a couple of others here as well as we scroll down. So these are all built into the master slide. Now, what's going to be interesting with this new version is at the moment, there's no reference to the master slide anywhere. Okay, so that'll be interesting to see where we can pick that up from in the new version. Chances are there is some similarities once again with PowerPoint with those layouts, so you'll be able to adopt that pre-existing knowledge you've already got with PowerPoint and even with Captivate. Also, okay, so let's see what happens here.
Title slide.
Okay, so
you will be presented with the pre-created slide layout.
Okay, so we've got a title slide. So let's go back to current version of Captivate, and there are a couple of different title slides here, which I've already selected one. If I go and click on another one, so look, once again, it's same, slightly different. What is also happening here, however, is that we've got this option around design options. If we actually go back a couple of seconds, you'll see here that it talks about theme, and there is a theme. So what this panel, or what the properties panel is now doing, is it's making the theme options more accessible and noticeable. Of course, we can utilize themes currently as well. And there is actually a themes button up in the top left-hand corner. So we could go into the themes button in the current version of Captivate, and we can see some existing themes. And here's one already with some macaron biscuits, which I think, yeah, macarons, just different photos. And you'll now see that things have slightly changed. And if I go back and select title, and here is a title slide. So I have been able to incorporate a theme. Things like color palettes, font sets, change theme, edit theme, are things that we can already currently do inside of the current version of Captivate.
Let's add a title slide.
Okay, so there's our title slide. We've got a title slide in here, and of course we could change the title slide in the current version of Captivate to look like the title slide here. It looks like there are a couple of other options. What they're talking about here is that these layouts can be swapped over using what's called design options over here. And in actual fact, what we currently use, making sure that we've got nothing selected to go back into that properties panel, we can choose these layouts. And of course, utilizing the master slide, we can actually create our own layouts. So I could actually create, grab this master slide. I can duplicate that if I wanted to. I could call this title 2, and then if I wanted to, I could bring this down like so, make this a little bit smaller, maybe bring it to there. So that's now looking completely different to that. And then if I go back to my film strip view, I can actually go in there and select that layout. So once again, nothing really brand new as such. It's just a slightly different way of doing things. So let's pick up.
You will be presented with the pre-created slide layout. If you don't like the default layout, you can replace it with a different design option. This option looks good to me. Let's edit it now by first repeating.
Okay, whatever happened there happened really quickly. And if we just, something happened, I've got a funny feeling what might have happened is,
let's edit it now,
that an image was inserted from somewhere, either the library, which we don't know where it is because there's nothing saying library on the screen there, or it's been inserted externally. Now, of course, what we can do is, if we wanted to do that with ours, at the moment there's not an easy way of doing this. We can of course go into the library if we want. I can grab a different image. In actual fact, I don't have any images in my library. Really the only way of actually being able to quickly swap this particular image out, because it's on the background, is yeah, there's really, usually I've got something in here which says find background in library, but that's probably because I need to change, yeah, so I can change the background here. I can go and grab a different image. What I'm going to do is just import these images directly into the library. So I've just grabbed some images from the library, and I just want to do a shout out to Rodney Productions from Pixels. So I'm just quickly going to pop this on the screen to give credit to the photographer who provided these photos via Pixels. So there we go. If you look up Rodney Productions from Pixels, there's a great range of images on there, and we're using some of those. So thanks for that. Okay, now of course what I can do is I can switch over that background. So I can just grab another background, say for example this one, click on OK, and then that will bring the image in somehow. Now it is a little bit limited, so hopefully there's some improvement around being able to change the image or have editing, more editing control over images if they are on the background. Otherwise, what we can do obviously is I can grab an image. I'll grab that one that I just had there. So I'll just drag that in. I'm going to zoom out, Control minus to zoom out there. Of course, I've got a, or of course, what I can do here is I can select the image and fit to stage. I can make that a little bit bigger, and then I can, of course, reorder that, and Control 1 and Control 0 to take back to 100% or zoom out. So I'm not quite sure what's going on here. So something's obviously being swapped out. Now, of course, if we did want to swap an image out that was just in there, we can just right mouse click on the image, select replace image, and then I can just select another image. Okay, so not really sure what's happening here.
By first replacing the image, you can...
However, what has come up as a huge improvement now is that now that this image is selected in this new Project Charm version, the properties panel reflects image editing options. Now this looks like a huge improvement, so I'm going to give a huge tick to this because currently if you want to edit images in Adobe Captivate, you select the image, you click on edit image, and then you have this image editing window, and you can't even make this window bigger, and it is a little bit cumbersome. There's some image editing options available here, so you can flick if you want, or flip, or turn around. It looks like there are some extra options available. We've got our flip by the looks of it over here. We've got sizes, opacity looks like this one over here. Image presets, which looks really cool. Something's going on with filters where it says none, so that'll be interesting to see what happens. We can add a border, which is great as well. And there's some blur, brightness, and contrast. And of course, we've got brightness, contrast, alpha. We don't have blur in here, so that's obviously an extra new feature coming into the mix. Okay, what else is going on? Let's have a look.
Resize and crop any portion of the image directly on the...
Okay, so resizing and crop on the actual slide is a fantastic update, because in the past, when you wanted to crop something, you had to crop here, and you sort of had to guess. You had to sort of guess what you wanted to crop and if that was going to fit on the slide. And it was quite cumbersome. So this looks like an awesome update, and really thankful for that. So thanks the team at Project Charm. Let's have a look and see what else is coming up.
Stage and change its look with the help of
cool.
a preset. Then add the title and make the required styling changes.
Okay, so add a title and make some styling changes. So once again, the text is selected here, and we're not sure if we're dealing with if Captivate holding on to the original text caption feature, or if we're using, it doesn't look like we're using a shape with text, which I think a lot of us have gone down that path. We do a lot of our text inside of shapes now, so this will be interesting to see what's going on. Now, once again, I don't think there's much happening that's new here. We've got our font formatting, character formatting, text color, outline, highlight, drop shadow. That's all there. Bullets and numbering. Oh, I can see something just down there, which hopefully bullets and numbering have been improved, because it was quite limited what we could do before with bullets and numbering. Looks like a few extra character formatting options available here, possibly. Presets are just talking about styles, which we have already. So let's select the text here. And of course, this is a placeholder. So at the moment, I'm going to just put some text in here. Hello, Project Charm. Yeah. Okay. Hello. Now, of course, we've got some text in here. Here's our style. So we do have default styles. A lot of you are probably used to working with styles. This is a great updates to styles. We've got styles that are displaying what they look like in real time, so that's a great help. So this will be interesting to explore this further when it comes out, the text formatting.
Only thing missing here is a button to start the course. To add it, go to the toolbar and select UI components.
Okay, so let's have a look at this. This is going back to this new streamlined toolbox. So we've got the button with the mouse. Let's go over to the current version of Captivate. We've got this interactions button where we can, of course, select button. So I'm going to do that. Bringing in a button. A little bit slow there. Now we've got the button. Now, of course, this looks like a huge improvement. A couple of other things. We've got checkboxes, input fields, radio buttons, drop down, sliders. Slider looks like it'll be interesting. Hopefully there's some mechanics in the background to be able to work with these a lot easier than we have been able to in the past. Checkboxes and radio buttons, input fields are obviously currently controlled by the text entry box under the text button. So that's a slight change there. And the radio boxes and checkboxes used to be under learning interactions. So we were able to utilize checkboxes in here. Let's have a look. So here, checkbox widget. And I think also, there's a drop down widget as well. So possibly, and there's a radio button widget. So possibly these UI components which are being mentioned here are starting to replace some of these widgets. So that'll be interesting to see which widgets actually get carried over into standard features and not to be look like being sort of an add-on or a bolt-on. It looks like that's as far as it goes. There's no other scroll inside that UI component, so it'll be interesting to see if there are any more widgets that are available there. But let's have a look and see what happens when we insert a button.
This will give you access to all the ready-to-use UI components like buttons, sliders, checkboxes, drop-down, etc. Let's select the button here. You can choose a different preset for the button.
Okay, so straight away, this looks fantastic. We've got graphical representations of the states that are appearing straight away. We've got some presets there, which are great. Opacity. So there's things, once again, that we can do already. I'll get rid of that widget. We can do a couple of things here. These are the states, of course, so roll over and down, and of course a few other things here. Let's have a look and see what's happening. Let's press play.
Or apply custom formatting changes in the properties panel. We can finish this slide with adding some music. For that, you can easily switch to...
Okay, so before we get to the music, that's it for the buttons. It'll be interesting to see what else. I'm assuming we can do pretty much whatever else we can do with buttons, but it was nice to see some options available for rounded corners, which we can't really do at the moment, unless, of course, we put in a shape, and then that shape actually becomes a button, or use as button, of course, which we all know how to manage that as well. And we've got the ability to put the rounded corners. So not sure if there's anything really that brand new about buttons. Having the visual aspect of the hovers and the clicks and etc. And the states coming up visually is a great feature. So I'm sure that'll be a welcome addition to the workflow. Okay, let's have a look and see what's happening with the music. Okay, so just going back a little bit here.
Music. For that, you can easily switch to the audio panel and import.
Okay, so we can, let's add some audio. Okay, so to add audio, we go into the slide properties, we go into options, click on add audio, And of course, I'm just going to import audio. I'm not sure what happened here because once again, it seems like they might have edited out some.
For that, you can easily switch to the audio panel and import audio.
As soon as she clicks import audio, it cuts straight to this thing. So I'm sure she's gone out and found an audio file on the desktop or in her files somewhere. So we're going to do that. Import, I've got to go through library. Here we go. And just to let you know that I've downloaded this particular track from the freemusicarchive.org. So freemusicarchive.org, and the track is actually Xylo Zico by Peril. So I just wanted to shout out to that artist. So thank you for providing that music for us. And of course we can edit it. So Captivate's got some pretty cool audio editing features already. It'll be interesting to see how that is transferred across to this new version. We'll just say that we are going to extend the time. And also, just close that out. Also, I do need to, she does something here about looping. Let's have a look.
To the slide. Let's select the loop option also here.
Okay, so looping here and stop background audio, they seem to be a lot more accessible as features because if I select the audio here, we can loop the audio here. I've actually never used that. So that option's available. And we can fade in and fade out. So let's go back here. Not much is being introduced that looks like it's new to Captivate. It's just an existing feature already.
So that the music keeps playing in loop till the start button is clicked.
Okay, so the music keeps playing in loop until the start button is clicked. What I'm assuming is going to happen there is as soon as the start button is clicked, it'll take you to the next slide where there won't be music. So I don't think there's anything clever or special going on there. It's just moving on to the next slide. So the audio functionality that is spoken about here doesn't look like it's anything brand new.
Now let's add a slide to talk about the challenges that people face during virtual meetings.
Okay.
For that, I'll add.
Okay, so she's going to add a new slide.
Add
a blank slide.
Title text, and then add multiple images.
Okay, so let's add a blank slide. So we'll do that. So plus blank slide. There we go. I'm going to add some text. We don't know how she added the text there, do we? Because it just appeared. That text box just...
Text, and then
okay, so she pressed the T button. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen here because hopefully the text caption feature has been updated because this is the very, very original way that text was included. And I don't know about you, but I insert all of my text now using shapes because there's a lot more control over formatting and so forth. Anyway, I'm going to add text. Let's do that. Up here, what did she call here?
Images,
challenges, type pretty fast. So challenges, I'm just going to move that up here. Now, the next thing here is quite interesting because once again,
on top of each.
Okay, so these images just appeared all at the same time. So I'm assuming what's happened, the images are coming from somewhere, either a library, which we can't see yet, or we haven't been introduced to a library panel, or whether, because you can't actually insert more than one image at a time if you're coming directly from your hard drive. However, what we can do is if we go into the library, we can select multiple assets from the library and drag those into the slide like so. And we can actually incorporate multiple objects at the same time. And of course, what I need to do here, let's just check something.
Each other.
Okay, so they've appeared there pretty quickly. Once again, these image presets are appearing, which we had a look at before. What I need to do here is I need to go in and fit these images to stage because they are quite big. We're all used to that. So I'm actually just going to click on fit to stage. That'll fit all of them to the stage at the same time. And I'm going to just select one, make that a little bit smaller. And I'm going to select that as the first one, hold the control key down. Actually, let's go to the timeline. It'll be a bit easier. Hopefully this timeline is fixed. So I'm just going to grab that one first and then these other ones. And then I'm going to make all of the other ones, apart from the text caption, all the same size. Actually, what we want to do is make that one. There we go. Okay, so resize the same size, make that a little bit smaller, resize the same size, make them all on top of each other, just using the alignment toolbar up here. And it looks like the alignment toolbar is appearing over here on the right hand side now, quite possibly because we can't see any toolbars along the top here. Okay, now something very interesting that happens next. Let's have a look and see what she does.
Correspond with the voiceover. Then switch to the audio panel and click import audio to add the narration.
So she was talking about something where the images were going to be, let's have a listen to that again.
On top of each other to correspond with the voiceover. Then.
So something about corresponding with voiceover. Now, there's no magic here where you can quickly select an option that says assign image to voiceover, change in voiceover or something like that. So it is still a manual process.
Switch to the audio panel and click import audio to add the narration. Now let's distribute these images on the timeline so that they appear in sync with the narration.
Okay, this is a brand new feature. So we're seeing the timeline for the first time now.
Let's open the timeline and make it a bit taller.
Okay, I don't know what she did there to make the timeline a bit taller, because at the moment we've got to actually drag it up. But it looks like if you double click, you might all know that already. If you double click on the timeline, it does actually bring it up, but it just takes it back up to where it was before. So she looks like she did something to make the timeline go up another. Maybe fit all the layers. There might be a new feature where you just press it and then it automatically displays all the layers that are in the slide. So that'll be interesting.
And then shift select all the images and reduce the duration. Then.
Okay, now this next bit is a brand new feature. Now, of course, we can do this ourselves just by selecting all of these. And if we wanted to select all of them, we can make them bigger or smaller all at the same time. So there's nothing new there. I'm just going to show for the rest of the slide. But what she has done here is, check this out.
Use this newly added distribute sequentially option to magically distribute your images on the timeline.
Okay, now here's what's happening here. A little bit of magic, sure. What it's done is it's taken the individual durations of the images and it's sort of head to tailed them all along, so that each image is now one after each other. Another option, which I'm not sure is available, I didn't come across it. It may have been nice to have a button that said, okay, distribute the images evenly using the timeline or the duration of the slide as the starting point, and then adjust all of the durations of individual assets to fill out the slide. Okay, so you see what it's done there is it's only gone sort of halfway. So I'm not sure whether there is an added feature where we can say, okay, well, we want the slide to definitely go for 40 seconds or 30 seconds. Take those 5-6 images and then use some magic and then distribute those images evenly across the duration of the slide. It didn't do that. It just took the duration of those images and then just stacked them on top of each other. Okay, so that's a cool feature, sure.
Then click the play button on the timeline and nudge the timing and duration of these images to match the narration.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. Looks like, once again, if there's some things getting edited out, but if there's a magic thing where you press the button and it automatically chops and changes it to the end. I mean, there is a way of being able to essentially take the timeline, for example, or the playhead, and then you can sync with playhead. So that may be what was going on. I think maybe some shortcut keys, sync with playhead. There might have been a shortcut key happening there pretty quickly. So yeah, not sure about that one. But yeah. Okay, what else is happening?
And it's time to add some animations to these images.
Okay, this next bit's pretty cool. So we are looking at the effects panel and the animations we currently were able to do in the effects, or the timing panel and then effects. But this is slightly different, and there's a couple of cool features coming up here.
Under the animations panel, you will find a variety of animations under entrance.
Okay, so there is a brand new panel over here. There's a button, or there's a couple of buttons over here. We've got the audio button. There's another button which brings up the animations. You'll see we've got entrance, emphasis, and exit. So this is very similar. We've got emphasis, entrance, and exit. So we do have the same sort of categories of effects, but the effects are now being accessed via their own button, which we can get to quite quickly. And you'll see these buttons here. Essentially, they represent these, similar to what we see here in the panel over here. So just a different way of doing it. Also, what I have noticed is this fade in option, because there wasn't a fade in option unless you use transition. Using transition, fade in and out, etc. It looks like this particular effect has been bundled up into all of the other effects there.
Emphasis and exit categories. They're all amazing animations, and I personally love the wobble and shake animations.
Okay, so there may be some new animations here. I don't recognize some of those. One called Jello, Wobble, etc. Personally, I didn't use the animations a lot. So hopefully there are some new ones there that we can utilize. There may be some existing ones. They may have been renamed something different. But anyway, it'll be good to check those out.
Let's apply fade in animation to the first image. You can then right-click and copy the animation, and then shift-select the rest of the images to paste the animation.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. Being able to copy an animation and paste it to other objects at the same time. Absolutely. With the fade in, what I would have done in the past is I would have selected all of the shapes, for example. You were able to impact the fade in and fade out animation, or transition I should say, for all selected objects. So that's something relatively same, if not slightly different. But anyway, that's where we're at with that one.
Just like that. And at any point in time, you can play the animation here and make any modifications you like.
Okay, so can we play the animations here and make any modification that we like? Let's have a look. So that's that one coming in. And by the looks of it, what was happening with that other one? So it looked like it is fading out to white and then back in again. But in her example, these layers aren't on top of each other, but it looks like they are sort of fading into each other.
To paste the animation,
let's have a look at this again.
Just like that.
So when we play it,
any point in time,
so you'll see it's like a dissolve or a crossover is happening there. So that'll be interesting to see how that works, because I can't see anything. Maybe it's under the delay, 1.2 seconds duration, ease out. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we achieve that dissolve over, where in actual fact, those layers aren't actually crossing over to give that effect that you would do normally. So you normally have to have these layers just slightly over each other, probably at a half a second. And then if we have a look at this, you'll see that, yeah, it's sort of that dissolve where they fade into each other as opposed to fade out completely and then fade in again. Okay.
You can play the animation here and make any modifications you like. Next, let's build a custom interaction slide with some markers to display content related to it. I've already added the images and...
Right, this looks pretty cool. This is an easier way to create pop-ups or click on reveals, if that's what you want to call it. I'm not going to recreate this because what I would do is if I wanted to do this, I would actually just bring the image in. There are some existing it looks like there are some existing buttons that you can get. So I think these are just buttons that she's brought in.
Text on the slide and have added some markers. These markers have visited and select.
Okay, now she calls them markers, but I think we're just using buttons here. Okay, so we've got the buttons with some states that are already in there. Hover, visited, selected. It may be something that's built into a new bit of functionality, or the functionality has to be built from scratch again. Let's have a look quickly.
Some markers. These markers have visited and selected states added to them.
Okay, so visited and selected have been added I'm not sure whether they've been added as part of the upgrade to Captivate or whether she's added them just as part of this particular build.
Which are automatically triggered on the click of a button.
Okay, so maybe it's part of the upgrade, automatically triggered when that button is clicked. And you can see here we can add a state, very much the same that we can add states currently.
Above the marker, there's an object with states related to each of the markers.
So here we've got some states or some other objects. So this looks like content. So this says content up here. So it's going to be interesting to see what that's related to, because normally in the past, what I would have done is just put in a shape and then put the text into that shape. So it looks like there might be a new type of shape which just allows for content. So there may be some extra functionality available to manage text within a shape, and that new shape with text in it is called content. Maybe. I'm just trying to put the pieces together.
I've turned the opacity for default state to 0 so that nothing is visible when the slide loads.
Okay, so this is interesting. So it looks like there's a state, or there's a content shape which has 4 states, and going to each of those states, they're above the marker. So it looks like something's been built which is utilizing one content shape, but that one content shape has 4 states with different with different words in them, and then when the buttons are pressed, it's displaying the same content shape but a different state of that shape. That's what I'm trying to figure out, what is actually happening if we were to try to create this in a current version of Captivate. And if we are going to create this in the new version of Captivate, what are we actually doing? Is it one content shape with the 4 states all appearing in different locations, which we could recreate in the current version of Captivate? Or is this some brand new feature which makes this type of functionality or interactivity easy to create? Because it looks like it's really easy here, but what work is involved?
And content should show when the related marker is clicked. Now, let's write the interaction for these markers.
Now, this looks really interesting. This next bit, what is happening here is Captivate has evolved into a trigger type of approach when it comes to creating actions. Something very similar to what you may see in Storyline. So let's have a look and see what's happening here. She's selecting this button.
Select the first marker and go to the Interactions panel.
Okay, so there is a button up here now with the lightning bolt on it, the Interactions panel. Okay, so what is this? It's taking the action, what were previously actions, and now how do we trigger those actions? And the word trigger is being used now.
Select Set State.
So if you see here, it says trigger click and then conditions. So what we've got here now, it looks like a different approach to creating actions and advanced actions. You'll see the word action is still being used here. There are some pre-built actions which are very similar to what we're used to already. Go to next slide, go to slide, toggle view, hide, show, transform, that could be an interesting one, and more. What's under the more button? Set state or change state of, so this will be interesting. But yeah, once again, we've got this trigger option coming up here.
Select the content object.
Okay, so there's the content object.
Select M1 state.
Right, so selecting M1 state. So we want to change that content object or shape. It looks like it's called a content now. And we want to change that content object to state M1.
And click Done.
Okay, now there's a couple of other settings here which look quite interesting. So we can apply delay and acceleration settings for those of you who have worked in motion graphics or animation. Ease in and ease out is a very common setting for animations.
That's all.
That's all.
Now, to quickly apply the same action to other markers, right-click the first marker, select Copy Interaction.
Okay, so this is pretty cool. We can copy interaction where before it would have been called an action. So we can copy actions, which is fantastic.
Then shift select the rest of the markers, right-click and select Paste.
Okay, so pasting the actions, we're going to need to update the actual state. So the second marker will need to be M.
Then open the action for them and select the related marker content to show up.
Actually, I just want to go back there a little bit because something was...
right-click and select Paste. Then open the action for them and select the related marker content to
Okay, so is there any target? Okay, here we go. That wasn't showing before, I don't think. So maybe it was and I missed it. But that must be the actual shape name. Maybe what she did was she just put in a normal shape and she's named it content. So she's actually put in a shape like this, and the properties is called content. So that's how she's registering or making reference to that particular shape. It's called content, and then there's the state that we can access there.
Show up. You can also add interaction evaluation for your slides without using any conditional actions or variables. For that, select the slide and go to the Interactions panel.
Okay, so here we go. This is interesting. This is actions, obviously. There's a few things happening here. These timeline actions, we used to access those on the slide properties. So if we go to the slide properties here, for example, under actions, we see on enter and on exit. So those actions, I'm actually going to close that down. Yeah, so interesting how we now access the interactions, which is what they're called. Yeah, interesting. Let's have a look.
Click Add Interaction and select Object.
Objects clicked. And then these are the objects: image, content, etc.
Objects clicked. Select all the markers and then decide what should happen.
Okay, very interesting. So we can select the markers in this sort of library view, if that's what you want to call it. It's like an object library view.
When all the markers are clicked. In this case, I want to show the next button once all the markers are visited.
Okay, very cool. So in the past, what we would need to have done there is we would need to have created an advanced action with variables, counted the when a button was clicked, increment a variable value by 1, and when that variable value reached a certain number, we then display the next button. So yeah, an interesting and a lot more streamlined and simple approach to displaying the next button once all of the actions have been triggered on the slide.
And with that, our custom interaction is ready.
Very interesting.
Let's preview and see how it works. When you click the first marker, it shows the content and changes the state of the marker to selected state.
The animation here is very cool, how it moves from one to the next.
And the next changes to selected.
We could possibly do that if we wanted to in the current version. We won't need to worry about this too much longer, will we, with the new version coming up?
A flip card. For that, let's add a ready-to-use flip card widget.
Okay, this is really, really cool. So here, the widgets are still there. So you'll see here just quickly, we've got tabs, flip cards, hotspots, and accordion. So this is great. Flip cards, there's been a few videos, including one on our channel, so you can check the videos below. The flip cards in this particular example, from what I can see so far, they don't actually get the impression that they are flipping over like so. They just change state. So it's really just a shape changing states. It's not actually animating to look like it's flipping over. So let's have a look.
So that we don't need to write any actions for it. Select a design option you like.
Very nice here. So all of the actions and the change of states and everything is happening inside this widget, which is quite cool.
Modify the number of cards you need for the interaction.
Very cool here. We've got some spacing, fit to slide, some font sets, color palettes, number of cards. Very cool. Transform. This will be interesting to see if we can create that animated effect under the transform part of that panel.
And start replacing the content for the
very fast typer.
Front of the card.
I like this. So we've got front and back down here. Now, what if we want a flip card that has more than a front and a back? Now, we've worked on things before where you flip it over and it displays something, flip it over again and it displays something completely different. And you may have 3, 4, 5 different panel or bits of text and images showing every time you click it over. So it looks like with this particular example, I can't see anything here where we can have more than a front or a back.
Once you're done, click back and replace the content on the back of the card.
Very, very cool. So awesome if you want to create a flip card type of experience. It just has a front and a back. Very similar to change state of. So each of these shapes could just be a state with extra components added to that state, and it's obviously using state mechanics or the mechanics of changing states as part of this particular feature.
There's no need to write any action for this widget. It will automatically show the content when the cards are clicked.
Okay, so you see it just sort of fades or it just changes. It doesn't actually animate as though it's flipping over.
With the course content almost created, it's time to test the learners. So let's build a quiz with a couple of questions. First question we need.
Okay, so with the different question types here, there's nothing new that I can see at the moment. So multiple choice, true, false. All of these are part of our current set of question slides. What is nice, however, is that it's a much more modern approach, and there are a lot more features and there's a lot more flexibility to how your answers can be laid out on the screen. So let's have a look at this.
It's a multiple choice question. You can choose the required layout.
Very nice. So you see we've got these buttons now. I got different ways of actually presenting the answers, which was very limited in the previous versions up until now.
For the question slide.
Very, very nice. Yep. This takes question slides to the next level. Looks like a lot of those properties are still the same. It'll be interesting to see what it says under buttons there. Captions, probably similar captions. Attempts, what happens, how many attempts do we get? It'll be interesting to see how we can manage things like return to quiz, if that's an option, and also the different number of response. So you had response 1, 2, and 3. You may recall you can have up to 3 different types of response captions depending on what attempt. So it'll be interesting to see if any of that is retained.
Increase or decrease the number of answer options. Populate the...
Oh, that happened pretty quickly. Let's have a look. Option. So some of the different option labels here. Radio button count, radio button states. That looks pretty cool. So we can actually have a lot more control over the actual radio button, the design of the radio button, all that sort of stuff, which is a great improvement to the design and formatting of our question slides.
The question stem and answer options. Then select the correct answer. Similarly, you can add other question types in the project. A results page will automatically be added after the questions.
So once again, you've got a results slide. All the result metrics are available there. It looks like just some nice theme sort of template slides that have been included to bring the design to a more modern look. Obviously, everything that could be achieved in our current version of Captivate, but it looks like either this is part of the existing theme or template that's included within the update, or this is something that's been pre-designed.
Slides. Pick the design option you like and you're all set. Now, let's look at a responsive e-learning project created using Project Charm.
Okay, so responsive project. So I'm not sure how many of you had a chance to work with fluid boxes. I know they were a little bit cumbersome, and for us, a lot of the time we just sort of stuck to scalable projects, and would sometimes even create projects in portrait and just scale them up and down, especially if they were predominantly for mobile. But let's have a look and see what's happening here, because one of the things that is a key improvement, which I think I'm getting right here, is that when the content is presented in mobile device or in portrait, it will have the option of being able to scroll down, which we weren't able to do before.
Here's the course preview with desktop view on the left and mobile view on the right. If there's content on the screen that cannot fit on the mobile view, a scroll is
excellent. So scroll
automatically added.
That is fantastic. So scroll is great because it was a bit hard to do that before.
You can add subtle animations and UI components.
Now, I'm not sure if this is inside of the Captivate software or if this is something that is being used somewhere else. It could be a special preview option within inside of the Project Charm,
which will work seamlessly on any device. And the interaction widgets also work beautifully on mobile device with horizontal scrolling option to get access to all the cards and interact with them.
So those cards were flipping over. So I'm not sure if that is something that...
Scrolling option to...
Yeah, so we can see how... So maybe that was a setting in that transform option we saw when that flip card widget was put in, but she didn't do that when she built the flip card before.
Get access to all the cards and interact with them. Then a question slide to test the learner's understanding of...
You can see that the radio button's obviously been styled to adapt the color scheme of the slide, which is fantastic.
Of the content and a closing slide. Now let's see how project...
So that's interesting, this media block. So let's just go back a little bit.
Act with them. Then a question slide to test the learner's understanding of the content and a closing slide. Now let's see.
Okay, so media block. So where we were finding this before was media. So these were all the original media things that we could incorporate. Let's have a look and see what's under the media block here. So we've got image grid. video, multiple videos. Doesn't look like we can access any more, so that'll be interesting to see what's happening there.
How Project Charm quickly allows you to create this course.
Okay, so now there's something here which must have been selected beforehand to say that it was going to be a responsive project. So right at the very beginning, if we recall that that she selected default project, which currently is if you say a blank project, but you'll see here you can select responsive project. The buttons over here on the left are slightly different to what we had before, and also now that we've got an image in here, we've got these image response behaviors options for the selected image, and we didn't have those before. So what I'm assuming is that these options will only be available if we selected responsive project right at the beginning when we created the brand new project.
With the brand new content blocks for responsive courses.
Okay, so those content or those media blocks were obviously the only ones that were available for responsive projects, and we can see what happens here, being able to control what happens to the image when it's actually shown in portrait view. And you'll see up here we've got these icons to preview in desktop, tablet and mobile.
The creation of the responsive project is easy and seamless. All you need to do is add content blocks, replace the text.
Okay, so it was interesting. Let's have a quick look at what that said. So
seamless. All you need to do is add content.
Okay, so it was very similar to what was available in the other option, but once again, these options available here, we've got multiple choice. So all these questions, these two question slides have been incorporated into the main slide layouts, whereas before those question slides were separate and we had more question options available. So it looks like these layouts are specific to a responsive project, which must have been selected beforehand but wasn't displayed as part of this demo.
In blocks, replace the text and graphic.
Okay, so we've got these content blocks, which is where that T is coming from. Okay, so here, this makes a little bit more sense. So T, we didn't see this before when she clicked on T, because when she clicked on T, it just brought this, the thing straight up on the slide, or the block. But here, okay, so this is a content block, which is obviously a shape with text, and there's some predefined types of text, but the shape icon that was there before isn't appearing. So this is interesting. The mystery, there are more questions than answers at the moment.
And modify the properties to make it work for you. You can also
Okay, what's happening over here? Text options. Text options look different to what they did before. These presets up here, it says text box there. So this looks slightly different to what we were looking at before as part of the demo.
Also switch to different views.
Okay, that's nice. Image grid, so there's a couple of things going on here. Number of images, spacing between images, design. It will be interesting to see what's happening under design options there.
And even author in any view you like. And that's a quick glimpse into the easy and seamless way of creating responsive e-learning content.
She makes it look so easy, doesn't she?
In Project Charm. With Project Charm, learning creation will change forever. I hope you're as excited as we are.
Thanks, Pooja. Yes, we are excited, and hopefully that video helped to break down a few of the little Easter eggs there that were shown in that little preview. Our review, once we get our hands on the update, we're going to give it a really good thorough test run. We'll have a proper breakdown video for you. But in the meantime, hopefully that's helped to give you a bit of an insight as to what to expect. But once again, a lot more questions than there are answers. And we look forward to coming back to you very, very soon with an update to the brand new Adobe Captivate Project Charm. Okay, we'll catch you soon. Bye.